for is respect. You're looking for reasons to respect people and treat them well. And a really simple way to explain striving for mutual respect, of course, the word mutual is pretty important. Some people think that respect only goes one way. Because I outrank you, I can talk to you however I like, and if you speak the same way to me, it's called insubordination. That's not mutual respect. Treating somebody with respect just because you're afraid of them is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is no matter where you are on the organizational chart, no matter how much education you have, no matter how long you've been with the organization, you don't ever, ever talk down to someone. You know, that brings in this real world rule, which is tough to say, but the real world rule is kind of how we live. It's not necessarily the best way to do things. And what the real world rule is, where people start off and they say something like, listen, we don't know each other and I'll treat you really well, but if you give me a reason to treat you like a jerk, then you don't want to mess with me. Treat me wrong and you'll get the horns. Mess with the bull, you'll get the horns. That's not really the best way to start off. So very often we talk about the golden rule, which is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And that's great. It's definitely a step up from the real world rule. But sometimes there's some problems with that. And let me explain. I used to work with a fella who was of a different faith than me and came from a different part of the world than I did. And I liked him a lot. And we spent a lot of time sharing each other's philosophies and ideas and thoughts, and we developed a friendship. And I thought we were pretty good friends, and I guess we were. And one day he walked by my office, and I had a little Nerf basketball. And out of a collegial, friendly sort of playfulness, as he walked by me, I bounced the little ball off the back of his head, sort of smiled at him, and he gave me a funny look and walked away. And I really didn't think anything of it. Later on that day, after people were starting to go home, he asked me to come and speak to him in his office. And I went in and he closed the door and he asked me how I could have ever been so disrespectful to him, to treat him in such a manner, and that he was very shocked because he thought we were friends. Well, as it turned out, he took what I did as a huge sign of disrespect. Now, I was lucky. I was lucky that he cared enough about our relationship and our friendship to actually address it and come and talk to me about it, so that I was able to apologize and able to explain to him that it was not at all how I intended, and explain to him that I would in the future never do that again, of course, and I would respect his feelings. But I wanted to be clear that he knew that there had been no malice in the act at all, and in fact it had been the opposite. And he seemed to be pretty good with that. But the point is, I treated him with the golden rule. I did treat him the way that I wanted to be treated. Had he done it to me, I would have taken it as a compliment. So there really is a problem with the golden rule, and that problem is, what if other people don't want to be treated the way you want to be treated? So rather than just looking at the golden rule, why don't we replace it and we call it something something like the platinum rule, where you treat people not how you want to be treated, but you treat people how they want to be treated. And that really is the best way to be. And if you don't know how someone wants to be treated, it's pretty simple. You just have to ask them. I know sometimes people ask me in my workshops, how do you know how people want to be treated? And I think a good way to answer that, because sometimes it just seems so perplexing. Well, we don't know how people want to be treated, and what do we do? And I think that a good way to explain that is, when you go to dinner and you are presented with a menu and the waiter comes to ask you what your order is, the waiter doesn't know what you'd like to order. And I'll tell you, I have never once been offended by a waiter asking me what I would like for dinner. If you present options, you might want to consider that. You go to someone and say, you know what, I could do this way or that way. I'm very comfortable doing whichever you feel is best. So are either of these ways great? Or if there's something I haven't thought of, please let me know and we'll try to do it that way. That is a respectful collaboration. That is trying to find win-win. You know, all too often we look for win-lose because we feel somehow we score points. And there's an accounting of these imaginary points. Oh, we won, they lost. I have yet to find the trophies or the parades for those types of victories. I've yet to find the catalog that I can order goods and prizes from with the points that I've scored on people when it's win-lose. I would much prefer to live in a win-win situation. And if you can find a game show that's win-win or no deal, that would be the optimum way to live and the optimum way to work. And of course, now that brings us to the fourth and final key to successful interpersonal skills. And that's just walk the talk. That is very simply believe these things, review them regularly, work on them, be open to hearing criticism to yourself and thinking that you can learn and develop and practice. Walk the talk. So, the 4 keys: separate the person from the problem, keep the morale meter high, strive for mutual respect, and walk the talk.